Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in psychology, believed that much of human behavior is driven by forces we don't fully understand. That's precisely why it can go unnoticed until it's too late. In this video, we're going to explore Jung's deep psychological insights and gradually uncover the warning sign you should never ignore. By the end, you might start seeing certain people in a very different light. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe Psychlens channel. We will get early access to new video and insights personal in spiritual growth. Now let's get started. To understand Jung's warning, we need to start with how he saw the human mind. He called this hidden part of the mind the unconscious. According to Jung, the unconscious isn't just a place where we store memories we've forgotten. It's also where we hide the parts of ourselves we don't want to see, our fears, our weaknesses, our selfishness, and our darker impulses. He called this hidden side of ourselves the shadow. Now, many people talk about the shadow as if it's something evil or harmful, but Jung didn't see it that way. He believed the shadow is simply the part of us that is unknown. And while it can contain dangerous traits, it also holds creative energy, hidden potential, and emotional strength. But here's the problem. The most dangerous kind of person, according to Carl Jung, is someone who refuses to recognize their own shadow. Let's think about what this means. Every person has qualities they don't like about themselves. Maybe it's jealousy, arrogance, manipulation, or a tendency to lie. Maybe it's laziness or the desire to control others. These traits aren't uncommon. What makes someone dangerous isn't that they have these traits. It's that they deny they have them. They pretend they are always good, always honest, always kind, and they project their flaws onto other people. They see others as the problem. In their mind, they're the victim, never the one causing harm. Jung believed that this refusal to acknowledge the shadow creates what he called inflation. Inflation is when a person starts to believe they are more than human. Not in a literal sense, but in the sense that they think they are above normal human flaws. They think they're morally superior. They can't accept criticism because they see it as an attack. They reject feedback, even when it's honest and helpful. They can't grow because they've already decided they're right. This inflated ego becomes a fragile shell that cracks the moment someone disagrees with them. Such people are not just difficult to deal with, they are dangerous because they lack self-awareness. They act out their unconscious emotions without realizing it. They hurt others while claiming to be helping. They manipulate people while believing they are being fair. And because they believe so strongly in their own goodness, they never stop to question their actions. Let's consider a simple example. Imagine someone who sees themselves as a protector. They say they always stand up for others and defend what's right. But when they're challenged or feel threatened, they become controlling. They might isolate someone for protection, but it's really about control. They think they're being noble, but they're blind to their own need for power. This is the shadow at work. Jung also warned about people who see the world only in black and white. In their view, people are either good or bad, right or wrong, with no in-between. This mindset is dangerous because it doesn't leave room for complexity. It doesn't recognize that a good person can make mistakes, or that someone who's made mistakes can still do good. People with this mindset are often quick to judge and slow to forgive. This is especially harmful in leadership roles. A boss, a teacher, or a parent who hasn't dealt with their shadow can easily become authoritarian. They use their position to control rather than guide. They confuse obedience with respect. And when their authority is questioned, they respond with anger instead of reflection. In their mind, they are always right. This is what makes them dangerous. Not their authority, but their blindness to how they use it. Carl Jung believed that the only way to become a whole person is to confront the shadow. This doesn't mean acting on every dark impulse. It means recognizing that we all have them. It means accepting that we're not perfect and that our flaws don't make us evil, they make us human. Jung called this process individuation. It's the journey of becoming a balanced person by integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the self. When someone goes through this process, they become more self-aware. They can recognize when they're being selfish or manipulative. They can admit when they're wrong. They don't blame others for their feelings. They understand that their reactions are shaped by their inner world, and they take responsibility for that. These people are much less dangerous, not because they have no flaws, but because they are aware of them. And awareness brings control. In contrast, the person who ignores their shadow becomes a prisoner of it. They think they're free, but they're really acting out unconscious patterns. They repeat the same mistakes, damage relationships, and blame the world for their pain. They are unaware of the power their unconscious mind has over them. This unconsciousness is what makes them dangerous. It's not intentional harm, it's unexamined behavior that causes damage without guilt or reflection. We often meet people like this. A person who always thinks they're the victim, no matter what happens. Someone who believes they are morally superior, yet constantly criticizes others. A person who preaches kindness but acts with cruelty when things don't go their way. These are signs that the shadow has taken control without being acknowledged. Let's consider another real-world example. A person who prides themselves on being extremely polite and well-mannered. On the surface, they seem pleasant, but their politeness is a mask. Underneath, they feel constant resentment, jealousy, or superiority. They judge others silently, and when these feelings build up, they find subtle, passive-aggressive ways to release them through sarcasm, gossip, or withdrawal. Because they refuse to acknowledge these emotions consciously, they act them out indirectly. This kind of behavior can be more harmful than open confrontation because it's hidden behind a socially acceptable front. Carl Jung called this kind of behavior projection. Projection is when we take the qualities we dislike in ourselves and see them in others. For instance, someone who is dishonest may constantly accuse others of lying. Someone who is controlling might accuse others of manipulation. This isn't always conscious. It's a defense mechanism. The mind protects itself from guilt or shame by shifting the responsibility onto others. But the more a person relies on projection, the less they understand themselves, and the more damage they do to their relationships. Jung believed that collective societies can also fall victim to the shadow. When a group of people, like a nation, political movement, or ideology, refuses to examine its own destructive tendencies, it begins to project them onto outsiders. This can lead to hatred, scapegoating, and violence. History has shown us this pattern many times. When people blame the other for all their problems, they are often avoiding the hard work of self-examination. So what can we do? The first step is honesty. We must be honest with ourselves about our weaknesses, our flaws, our impulses. This isn't easy. It's uncomfortable to admit that we can be jealous, petty, or manipulative. But this honesty is the foundation of psychological strength. Without it, we build our personality on illusion. The second step is observation. Pay attention to your reactions. When something makes you angry or defensive, ask yourself why. What part of you feels threatened? What belief is being challenged? Often, our strongest reactions point to areas where the shadow is active. The third step is responsibility. Accept that your emotions and actions are your own. Stop blaming others for your feelings. Own your behavior, even when it's unpleasant. This doesn't mean punishing yourself. It means treating yourself like an adult, not perfect, but accountable. Jung believed that by integrating the shadow, we gain not only insight, but also energy. The energy we once used to hide our flaws becomes available for creativity, empathy, and self-growth. We become more balanced, more resilient, and more trustworthy. People feel safer around us, not because we're perfect, but because we're real. We start to break the cycle of unconscious behavior. We stop repeating the same mistakes. We stop hurting people we care about without knowing why. We start living with intention instead of reaction. It's worth noting that Jung didn't see shadow work as a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. Each stage of life reveals new layers of the unconscious. Even the most self-aware people can fall back into projection, denial, or inflation if they stop paying attention. That's why humility is key. The person who says, "I've already dealt with my shadow," is likely still in its grip. Jung's message wasn't about fear, it was about self-understanding. He wanted people to grow, to evolve, and to live more consciously. And that growth starts with a simple truth. The parts of ourselves we avoid are the very parts we need to understand. Only then can we become whole. Only then can we stop being dangerous to ourselves and others.